Dream of the Red Chamber, Chapter 62.
This chapter feels, well, surprisingly corporate.
It really does. I mean, if you strip away the silk robes and the garden aesthetics, Chapter 62 is basically a case study in crisis management
Yes.
and toxic office politics and the logistical nightmare of throwing a massive event while the HR department is actively putting out fires.
That is the vibe, exactly. We're zooming in on one specific day in the Grandview Garden. It's a day that is, statistically impossible because half the cast seems to share the exact same birthday, which we will get to.
Right.
But it's also the day immediately following a major theft. So you have this fascinating overlay of celebration and investigation.
It's a pressure cooker. You have to look at the garden not just as a home, but as an ecosystem, a very fragile one.
Okay.
And on this specific day, we see exactly how that ecosystem survives and who gets eaten by it.
Let's start with the cleanup operation then. The previous chapters involved a theft some rows due, other items went missing, and the way this gets resolved is, well, it's controversial. It all comes down to Pinger.
Right, Pinger. She's the chief maid and right-hand woman to Wang Shiveng, who's the actual manager of the household.
So Pinger is really the one on the ground.
She's essentially the chief operating officer here, and she delivers, a masterclass in what I'd call pragmatic management. Her philosophy is stated right there in the text. Turn big troubles into small ones, and small ones into nothing.
Which sounds great on paper, de-escalation, but in practice, it's messy. Because to make the trouble nothing, she has to reinstate the people who were originally suspected, Mrs. Liu and her daughter, back into the kitchen.
Correct. She wants stability. A full investigation would drag the masters into the mud, it would embarrass everyone, and it would just create more work for her boss. So she sweeps it under the rug.
But there's a victim here.
And here's the insight that I think is crucial. De-escalation isn't victimless. By reinstating Mrs. Liu, Pinger inadvertently destroys the woman who replaced her, Mrs. Qin.
Mrs. Qin. This part of the text was just brutal. It's written as a comedy, but if you look at it from her perspective, it's a tragedy. She's the substitute cook. She gets the job, holds it for maybe, 3 hours?
Not even a full shift, but look at what she accomplished in those 3 hours. This is the blinkest takeaway for anyone studying organizational behavior.
How so?
Mrs. Qin is the new manager who comes in and immediately tries to change everything before she understands the culture.
She went full audit mode right away. She starts checking the pantry. She finds deficits, missing rice, missing charcoal. She's shouting about how the japonica rice is short by 2 stones.
Yeah.
She wants to prove she's the new sheriff in town.
She's trying to demonstrate competence. And you know what? In a normal meritocracy, she would be Employee of the Month. She found the leaks in the budget.
Yeah.
But she made a fatal error. She invested her own capital before the contract was even signed.
The bribes. This just blew my mind. She hadn't even received her first paycheck, and she had already sent baskets of charcoal and 500 caddies of wood.
And just to clarify for you, caddies is a unit of weight. It's roughly 600 grams. So 500 caddies is a massive amount of wood.
It's a truckload.
It's a truckload of fuel. She also sent rice. She treated her new colleagues to a meal. She explicitly told them, "I'm here now. We're all one family. Please look after me." It's the sunk cost fallacy in real time.
Oh, wow.
She spent her savings to buy the position, assuming the job salary would pay her back.
And then the order comes down from Pinger. False alarm. Mrs. Liu's back. You're out.
The text describes her reaction as having her soul driven out. She's crestfallen. She has to pack up her flags and silence her drums. She leaves with nothing. No job, no refund on the bribes, total loss of face.
It really highlights that in this house, merit, or following the rules, like auditing the rice, doesn't matter. Mrs. Qin did the technical part of the job correctly, but she failed the political part.
Precisely. In the Grandview Garden, the truth that rice was missing is less important than harmony. Keeping things quiet. Pinger chose the path of least resistance.
So Mrs. Qin is the collateral damage of peace. Speaking of raising alarms, we have to pivot to the other loose end from this theft. Because while Mrs. Qin was getting fired, there was a whole other drama happening with the actual items that were stolen.
Right, the rose dew.
We know the thief was a maid named Kaiyun. But Bayu, the golden boy, the protagonist, he decides to take the blame for her. He tells his mother, "I took it for fun." He's doing this very noble thing to prevent a maid from getting beaten or sold off.
Standard Bayou behavior. He's soft-hearted. But this leads to a fascinating psychological twist involving his half-brother, Jia-Huan.
Jia-Huan, he is difficult to like, but the text gives us a reason why.
It does. So Kaiyun, the thief, she goes to her secret boyfriend, Jia-Huan, and says, "Hey, good news. Bayou covered for us. We're safe.
A normal person would be relieved. Phew, thank you, Bayou.
But Jiahuan isn't a normal person. He is the son of a concubine, constantly overshadowed by Baoyu, the legitimate heir. He operates with a scarcity mindset. He cannot process selfless generosity.
He doesn't see kindness.
He sees a transaction. When he hears Baoyu took the blame, he immediately assumes the worst. He says, "Why would he cover for you if you weren't close?" He assumes Kaiyun must be cheating on him with Baoyu.
It's a projection of his own insecurity.
It is, and the reaction is visceral. He has these private gifts that Kaiyun had given him, tokens of her affection, and he doesn't just return them. The text says he throws them directly at her face.
Yeah, her face. Wow.
He calls her a two-faced thing.
That image is so graphic. It's violent. It feels like he's trying to physically hurt her with the symbols of their relationship.
And it breaks Kaiyun. She realizes that her affection was wasted on someone who literally cannot trust her. She takes the gifts, wraps them back up, and just dumps them into the river, watches them float away.
The total dissolution of the relationship. And the irony is just painful. Baoyu tried to save her, but his act of kindness was the very thing that destroyed her.
It's the butterfly effect of the garden. A benevolent act by the privileged brother is interpreted as a power play by the insecure brother, and the maid pays the price.
Okay, so we have a firing, a breakup, and a cover-up. And the sun hasn't even fully risen yet, because now we have to get to the main event. It is Baoyu's birthday.
And in a noble household like the Jia family, a birthday isn't a party, it's a job.
The schedule's grueling. He's up at dawn. He has to worship heaven and earth, the ancestors, the senior members. But there's a quirk here that I found really endearing, or maybe just strange. He refuses to let anyone bow to him.
Yes, this is deep cultural coding. Baoyu believes that receiving bows, especially from people older than him, will shorten his luck or shorten his life. He's very protective of his spiritual credit score.
It's like he thinks he has a limited amount of luck in the bank, and every time someone bows to him, it makes a withdrawal.
Exactly. So he's actually dodging people. When the wet nurses and maids try to honor him, he runs away. He actually goes to their humble homes to pay respects to them instead.
It's this weird mix of high status and humility. He's the master, but he's visiting the servants' quarters to avoid their deference.
Right. And then, of course, there are the gifts. The inventory list of his birthday haul is a source of historical data in itself.
Oh, absolutely. The gift list tells you exactly where the Jia family stands in the political landscape.
We've got religious talismans from Zhang Daoshi, offerings from monks and nuns, but the food.
The food. Ang Zitang sends 100 bundles of silver thread noodles. 100.
Longevity noodles are a staple, but the quantity signifies the alliance. Wang Zitang is a powerful military official, a relative by marriage. Sending that volume of food is a flex. It says, we have resources and we support this boy.
And what about Fengji's gift? She sends a Union of Four Directions pouch.
Which had a gold star god inside and a toy from Persia, a plaything made in the Kingdom of Persia.
Wow.
It's a tiny detail, but it tells us the Jia family is cosmopolitan. They have access to global trade routes, imported luxury goods. It sets the stage for just how wealthy they are.
But the real aha moment of the chapter, the thing that really caught my eye, happens when the guests start arriving. Baoyu is exhausted. He's lying on his bed. And then Pinger, our conflict resolution queen from earlier, walks in.
And she is dressed to kill, like a flower branch, the text says. She comes to pay respects, but Baoyu tries to do his don't bow to me, you'll shorten my life routine.
And then Siren, Baoyu's main maid, she just drops the bomb. She says, you have to bow to her. It's her birthday too.
The symmetry here is beautiful. You have the young master and the chief manager's maid sharing the exact same birthday. They end up bowing to each other. It levels the playing field for like a split second.
But it doesn't stop there. Shang Yun jumps in and says, hey, it's also Baokin's birthday. And then someone else points out, it's also Shiyan's birthday.
4 people, Baoyu, Baokin, Pinger, and Shiyan, all born on the same day.
The odds of that have to be astronomical. I mean,
Right.
What are the chances? But Tunshin, who is basically the data analyst of the group, she isn't surprised. She starts breaking down the calendar.
Tanshin is the one who sees patterns. She notes the clusters. The first month is Yonchun and the Grand Ancestor. The second month is the Lady Dowager and Baochai. And then she notes the 12th of the second month.
Right. She points out that Lin Daiyu shares a birthday with Shiren.
Which is a fascinating narrative choice by the author. Think about it. The male protagonist, Baoyu, shares a birthday with a chief maid, Pinger. The female protagonist, Daiyu, shares a birthday with the other chief maid, Shiren.
So it links the masters and the servants.
In a very intimate, cosmic way. It suggests they are mirror images of each other, that status is just circumstance, but their souls might be aligned.
And Tunchen decides to blur those lines even further. She realizes that because Pinger is technically a servant or a concubine, she usually gets overlooked. The main house isn't throwing her a party, so Tunchen proposes a sufenzi.
Which is essentially an 18th century GoFundMe, or a Dutch treat. They pool their own allowance money to host a private party for Pinger.
This felt like such a modern moment of solidarity. They bypass the official bureaucracy. They decide to order the food from the kitchen directly, paying out of pocket. And this is where the story comes full circle in a way that's just chef's kiss.
Because who picks up the order in the kitchen?
It's Mrs. Liu, the woman Pinger is saved in segment 1.
Exactly. Mrs. Liu is shocked to learn it's Pinger's birthday. She immediately kowtows. Think about the layers here. Mrs. Liu is cooking a feast for the woman whose mercy just saved her career. She's eager to please. She says, "I'll make the freshest, most clever dishes."
It's a happy moment, but it's entirely built on that earlier corruption. If Pinger had fired Mrs. Liu and kept the honest Mrs. Qin, this party might not have had a cook.
That's the ecosystem point again. Pinger's mercy was self-serving. She wanted quiet, but it paid dividends later in the day. It allowed for this moment of joy, and the visual at the end is stunning. The text describes the hall as a flower cluster.
It's packed.
So packed. Even Lin Daiyu comes out, which is rare because she's usually so fragile, but the weather is warm and she's feeling better.
It feels like one of the few moments in the book where everyone is just happy. You have the masters, the maids, the cousins, all jamming into one room, eating noodles and celebrating this coincidence.
It is a moment of communal joy. Tonchin's initiative to pool money creates a temporary equality. They aren't relying on the stiff, formal structure of the house. They're creating their own little society within the garden.
Meanwhile,
we're in, like, one of the most beautiful private gardens in all of literature. Flowers are blooming, the wine is warm, and there is a literal mountain of birthday gifts piling up on the tables. You know, fancy fans, silks, the works.
it sounds like the perfect day.
It sounds like the ultimate leisure scenario,
Yes.
right? Just pure relaxation.
On the surface, absolutely. It looks like paradise.
Yeah.
But if you peel back just one layer, you realize that this isn't just a party. It's a high-wire act.
That is exactly what we are getting into today. Beneath all the poetry and the drinking games, everyone is sweating.
Right.
There is this massive, invisible machinery of risk management, suppressed scandals, and a social hierarchy so rigid that one wrong joke could literally ruin a life.
It really redefines the whole concept of party anxiety, doesn't it? We're going to unpack how this single afternoon, just a couple of hours, reveals the psychological DNA of the main characters.
Yeah. You've got Bao Chai's almost corporate-level risk management, then Jian Yin's just chaotic, rowdy energy, and of course the razor-sharp wit of Daiyu.
And what I love about this section is that it feels like a pressure cooker. You have the joy of the celebration, but as we look closer, we see that this joy is incredibly fragile.
It has to be manufactured.
Totally. It's manufactured, it's fenced in, and it's fiercely protected. Bao Yu, our protagonist, is celebrating, and the gifts are just flying in.
Right. It starts with the formalities. Bao Yu and his cousin Zhu Ke have a quick drink. Bao Chai and her cousin Bao Qin pay their respects. It's all very structured, very proper.
And then comes a classic move for this time period, the gender segregation. The men go one way to do their thing, and the inner quarters party, the women's party, is about to kick off.
And this is where the vibe shifts immediately.
Immediately. As Bao Yu walks back into the garden with the sisters to start the real party, Bao Chai does something that it stopped me in my tracks.
The gate incident. Yes. They walk through this corner gate to get to their party spot, and Bao Chai stops. And she doesn't just close the door. She orders a matron to lock it. Right then.
And not just lock it.
No. She demands the key and puts it in her own pocket.
She effectively seals them inside.
Yeah.
It's such an aggressive move for a birthday party.
I mean, if I'm hosting a party and I lock the guests inside and pocket the key, people are going to think I've completely lost my mind.
Right.
And Bao Yu is confused, too. He asks her, why bother? No one even walks through here.
It feels a little paranoid, right? Like she's expecting a siege.
It looks like paranoia, but this is the moment where Bao Chai proves why she is, arguably, the most capable manager in the whole novel. This isn't fear, it's containment.
Okay.
She gives Bao Yu 2 reasons, and they're both incredibly revealing about how she sees the world.
The first one seemed practical enough, just traffic control.
Exactly. She points out that the household is chaotic because of the birthdays. So if that gate is open, servants are going to use their private garden as a shortcut to get from point A to point B. She uses that great phrase, smooth sailing for their feet.
Which is such a polite, poetic way of saying, keep the riffraff out of our VIP zone.
Precisely. But the second reason, that is where it gets dark.
Yeah. She brings up the recent thefts in the household.
The rose dew and the poria cream. And for anyone listening who isn't up on 18th century luxury goods, we are not talking about stealing a gallon of milk here.
No, these are high-status items. Rose dew was this exotic, imported cosmetic. Cory cream was expensive medicine. These are things that signify wealth and favor. And they went missing.
And Bao Chai drops a bomb on Bayou here. She tells him, those thefts, that is just the tip of the iceberg. She basically says, there are things bigger than these, hinting at this rot within the household that Bayou is completely oblivious to.
This is the key takeaway for Bao Chai's character. She isn't locking the gate to catch a thief. She's locking the gate to make sure her people don't get blamed for whatever happens next.
It's a strategy of insulation.
That's a great way to put it. She explains that if the gate is open and something else goes missing, suspicion could fall on the innocent people in their courtyard. But if the gate is locked,
Her zone is sterile. No one can accuse her staff.
it's a literal safe space, but created through exclusion. And her philosophy on justice here is startling. She basically tells Bao, if the truth about the thefts comes out, fine. But if it doesn't,
Let it go.
let it go.
Yeah.
Which completely goes against our modern, true crime instinct to find the thief, get justice.
Right.
Bao Chai is operating on a containment strategy. She thinks, contain the damage, protect the reputation, suppress the scandal. She's already confided in Pinger, the main manager, because she knows Pinger operates the same way. Stability over truth.
So the party can only happen because Bao Chai has physically locked the problems on the outside.
The joy is conditional. It only exists behind a locked door.
Wow. Okay, so with the perimeter secured, the group heads to the venue, the red fragrant garden. It's this small open hall, sounds very picturesque. You have a mix of the young mistresses and their top maids, Sangling, Kingwen, all hanging out watching fish. It sounds lovely.
But notice who is missing at the start. Pinger.
The COO of the household, the woman who actually makes things run.
She arrives late. And her excuse is a perfect illustration of her role. While everyone else is getting ready to drink wine, she has been battling the logistics.
What was she doing?
She's been managing the huge influx of gifts, tipping all the delivery servants, and then reporting everything back to Fengji, the actual head of the household.
So for Pinger, a celebration just means overtime.
Exactly. She's working while they're playing. And when she finally arrives, her presence triggers this fascinating dance of social dynamics. First, you have the generational issue. Aunt Shu Bao Chai's mother is there.
A chaperone.
And Aunt Shu is smart enough to read the room. She sees all these laughing young women and realizes, I am the buzzkill.
She actually says she's holding them back. I think we've all been at a family gathering where the cool mom realizes she isn't actually cool and the kids can't relax until she leaves.
It's a universal experience, but watch how the girls handle it. Yeah. Tan Chun, who is another sharp leader, doesn't just say, bye, Auntie. She orchestrates this soft exit.
It was very smooth. She arranges for maids to massage Aunt Sue's legs, serves her tea, sets her up in the parlor to rest. It's very, we love you, you look tired, go lie down over there.
It is aggressive hospitality. It ensures the older generation is comfortable but separate.
Right.
Once Aunt Sue is gone, the collective shoulders just drop. They can finally exhale.
Okay, now we get to the seating chart. And I know in this time period where you sit is usually a matter of life and death dignity.
Oh, it's incredibly rigid. But this scene is unique because the hierarchy gets blurry. They try to offer the seats of honor to Pinger. Now, Pinger has high status, effectively, but technically, she is a maid.
So she refuses the seat of honor.
Repeatedly. She knows the rules. Eventually, they settle on a compromise. But if you look at the other tables, you have mistresses like Tan Chun and Dai Yu sitting right alongside maids like Shirin and Xiangling.
That is rare, isn't it? Usually the maids would be standing, serving.
Extremely rare. The rigid lines of master versus servant are softened by the alcohol and the celebration. For a few hours, they aren't bosses and employees. They're just young people.
So the gate is locked, the aunt is napping, the seats are taken. Now for entertainment, they don't have Spotify, they consider hiring professional storytellers, but they reject it.
They call it blind talk. They want to entertain themselves. They want agency.
Which brings us to the games. And this is where the personalities really clash. Shangling, who has been learning to read, makes the lots, the little paper slips, and the first game they pull is called Shifu.
Shifu.
Can you explain this? Because Bao Chai rolls her eyes so hard I could hear it through the text.
Shifu translates roughly to guessing the item. It's an ancient, very literary game. Think of it like charades. But instead of acting out a movie title, you have to quote obscure lines of classical poetry that secretly describe an object.
So you need a PhD in literature just to play round one.
Pretty much. That's why Bao Chai laughs. She calls it the ancestor of drinking games, but says it's pedantic. She's reading the room. She knows half the people there, especially the maids, won't be able to keep up. It's too exclusionary.
But Tan Shun loves a challenge, so she proposes a compromise. Keep Shifu for the intellectuals, but allow thumb wars, or finger guessing, for people who want something simpler.
The high-low strategy, it keeps everyone involved.
Okay, so let's get into the Shifu game. Round one is Baokin versus Yangling. Baokin sets the word old. Wow!
And Shangling just hits a wall. She can't think of anything that fits the strict poetic rules. She is completely stumped.
Enter Xiangyin. We haven't talked much about her yet, but she's the rowdy one, right?
Xiangyin is pure chaos energy. She's impatient, enthusiastic, and, as we see here, she is not above cheating.
She sees a sign nearby that says, Red Fragrant Garden, which implies an old garden. So she starts making hand signals to Shangling.
She is literally mouthing the answer from the sidelines, trying to get Shangling to say garden.
But she gets busted.
By Dayu. Dayu has eyes like a hawk. She catches them passing private messages and calls it out immediately. Forces Shangling to take the penalty drink.
It's playful, but it establishes Dayu's role. She's the observer, and nothing gets past her.
Then we get round two, Tan Shen versus Bao Chai. This is a heavyweight title fight. Tan Shen sets the clues person plus window.
Person and window.
Bao Chai doesn't even hesitate. She connects this to a classical reference about a chicken window and a chicken man. It's an old story. She guesses roost. It is a deep cut.
It's impressive but dry. The room starts to get restless.
Exactly. The intellectual flexing is over. The group switches to thumb wars, and the text describes the atmosphere shifting instantly, bracelets clinking, people shouting numbers. It gets loud.
And who takes over? Xiang Yun again.
Xiang Yun wins around and decides she gets to make the rules. And her rules are, frankly, insane.
I tried to follow them, and I got a headache.
Listen to this list. To pass her turn, a player has to recite one line of ancient prose, one line of old poetry, one bone domino name, one musical tune name, and one line from the almanac.
That's 5 different databases of knowledge you have to access instantly.
And she adds a kicker. You have to include a bottom phrase that names a food item currently on the table.
Bayu must have been terrified.
He was sweating. When it's his turn, he drinks, but he completely freezes. He can't synthesize all those things. And this is a sweet moment. Dayu saves him.
She whispers the answer.
Feeds him the lines. She gives him a poem about a goose combining wild geese, broken-footed goose. It fits all the categories perfectly. It saves him from public embarrassment.
It shows their bond. But then
the camera, it kind of focuses on this quieter, more intellectual duel.
Yes, happening on the side between Li Wan and Xiao.
And this is such a great character moment.
It really is. Li Wan is the eldest widow. She's the dean of discipline for the house. So very proper, very educated.
And Xiun is the poor cousin. She doesn't have the money the others do, but she has this immense dignity and intellect. So they decide to play a different game.
They're not shouting numbers. They're playing a game of associations.
Or tacit understanding.
Exactly. It's called shooting the reply. One person gives a word and the other has to instantly provide the perfect classical parallel. It's a test of reflexes and literary vocabulary.
Okay, so Li Wan starts. She holds up her cup and says just one word. Piao.
Which means ladle or gourd.
And Xiun, without even blinking, just responds, Lu.
Green.
And they both just drink. Game over. They got each other instantly. Now, for a modern reader, even for me the first time, I was like, ladle? Green, what?
It's this beautiful example of linguistic parallelism. In Tang poetry, you match nouns with nouns, but you also match the implication. A piao, a drinking ladle, was historically made from a calabash gourd. When a gourd is fresh, it's green. Plus, you have the whole imagery of green wine, or luju.
So it's not just random. It's like if I said thunder and you immediately said lightning.
Exactly, or if I said salt and you said pepper. But imagine doing that with a vocabulary of 50,000 classical poems. The fact that Xian says green instantly shows she is on Li Yuan's level. They don't need to explain it. It's a private frequency.
I love that. Game recognized game.
Mm-hmm.
But while the intellectuals are having their little telepathic moment, the rest of the party is getting loud.
Yeah.
And we have to talk about the matchup between Seungyeon and Baoken.
The contrast here is just hilarious. Baoken is the golden child, beautiful, talented, traveled the world, everyone loves her. And then you have Seungyeon.
Seungyeon is my favorite. She's the tomboy. She talks too much, drinks too much. She has this little speech impediment. She's just pure chaotic energy.
She is absolutely the life of the party. But in this round of finger guessing, the chaos loses. Seungyeon loses the game to the golden child, Baoken.
And because she loses, Baoken gets to taunt her. And the line Baoken uses is, it's brutal. She looks at Seungyeon and says, please enter the urn, King Jun Ruwang.
It is such a sharp joke. You know the history of this idiom, right? It's not exactly festive.
Verified. It's from the Tang Dynasty's secret police, wasn't it?
Yes.
There was this official, Zhu Xing, who is a master torturer. And a superior officer comes to investigate him. So the officer asks Zhu Xing, I have a prisoner who won't confess. What should I do?
And Zhu Xing, not realizing he's the target, says, oh, that's easy. Get a giant bronze urn, light a fire under it, and tell the prisoner to step inside. They'll confess to anything.
And then the officer sets up the burning urn and just says to Zhu Xing, I have an investigation involving you, so please enter the urn.
It is the ultimate taste of your own medicine.
So Baoken dropping this at a birthday party is her basically saying, you agreed to play this dangerous game, you lost, and now you have to take the heat.
It's witty, but it's also a little aggressive. It shows that even the perfect Baotie has a sharp tongue. And the whole table just bursts out laughing because it's so perfect. Seungyeon is trapped.
And the trap is the penalty drink. She has to do a wine face, an opening performance, and a wine bottom, closing one. And she is clearly tipsy at this point.
Tipsy might be generous. She's definitely struggling.
So she starts reciting this poem for her wine face. And the imagery is, well, it's intense, she says. Surging and crashing, waves reaching the sky.
Very dramatic. Very martial, like she's channeling these epic, heroic vibes.
But then comes the punchline. She ends this whole epic description of a storm with, meeting a river wind, not suitable for travel.
And the room just erupts. They call it broken intestines, which is basically slang for nonsense.
Why is that so funny to them? Is it just because she's drunk?
It's the anticlimax. She sets up this terrifying scene, giant waves, iron chains, and it sounds like a war poem. And then she concludes with this like mundane travel advisory.
Right. It's like saying the apocalypse is upon us. Fire is raining from the sky. So traffic is going to be terrible.
Exactly. It's the incongruity. They accuse her of faking it, of trying to be funny, but I think she's just earnestly scrambling for lines and failing.
She's definitely scrambling. But she gets through it. She drinks her wine. Now she has to do the wine bottom, the closing act.
This is the physical comedy bit.
She picks up her jocksticks, reaches into the bowl, and she pulls out a duck head.
A classic delicacy.
And she doesn't just eat it, she eats the brain. But then she holds the bone up with her chopsticks, this little duck skull, and she decides to make a pun.
Right.
She says, this duck head is not that yatu. On the head is no osmanthus oil.
Okay, we have to unpack the linguistics here because it's brilliant. The word for duck head is yatu.
But yatu is also the common term for a maid or a servant girl.
Precisely. It literally means forked head, which refers to how little girls tied their hair in buns.
Okay. Yeah.
So she's holding up the duck skull and saying, this yatu duck, isn't that yatu maid?
And her proof is the oil. On the head is no osmanthus oil.
Right. The maids at the party, Kingwin, Yinger, all of them would have their hair slathered in fragrant osmanthus oil. That was the style. The duck, obviously, is bald and cooked.
It's such a dad joke. This duck isn't a maid because it's not using hair product.
It is a total dad joke, but the maids love it. And this is a really crucial detail. They don't get offended. They swarm around her, teasing her, saying, oh, you're making fun of us? You owe us a penalty drink.
And they add, if you think we use so much oil, you should buy us each a bottle to prove it.
It's a moment of just pure, unbridled joy. The whole hierarchy breaks down. Servants and masters are just young people laughing about ducks and hair oil. It's the highest emotional point of the party.
And naturally, because this is Red Chamber, the higher you go, the harder you fall.
Oh, yes.
This is where Lin Daiyu enters the chat.
Oh,
She's watching this whole scene, the maids laughing, demanding oil. And Daiyu, being the sharpest wit in the room, decides to add her own little tag to the joke. She smiles and says, she would give you a bottle of oil, but she fears getting involved in a theft lawsuit.
And cut the music.
Such a record-scratch moment.
It really is. And to understand why this line lands like a lead balloon for some people, we have to talk about the rose oil scandal.
Right. We can't just gloss over this. What exactly is the theft lawsuit she's referencing? Because it wasn't a real lawsuit, was it?
No, it was an internal household investigation. So when Dayu says she fears getting involved in a theft lawsuit, she's trying to make an ironic joke aimed at Baoyu.
Right.
She's basically saying, oh, Baoyu, you're so terrified of getting in trouble, when in reality, he was the only one brave enough to take the fall.
It's supposed to be playful teasing between lovers, like, oh, you big coward, wink, wink, when we both know you're a hero.
That was the intention. But Dayu has this fatal flaw. She gets tunnel vision. She's so focused on being witty with Baoyu that she forgets who else is sitting at that table. Kaiyun, the maid who was intimately involved in that whole situation. She knows the truth. She knows the guilt.
The text describes the reaction in slow motion. Dayu drops this line about the theft lawsuit, and while half the room probably just keeps laughing about the duck, 3 people have a physical reaction. First, Baoyu.
Baoyu reacts instantly. The text says he understood and lowered his head. He doesn't laugh. He doesn't look at Dayu. He just looks down.
That's heartbreaking. He's wincing for her.
Yeah.
He knows she just stepped on a landmine.
He's trying to contain the damage. If he reacts too strongly, everyone looks, so he just shrinks.
And then Kaiyun. The text says she has heart sickness about the theft.
Which means a guilty conscience. When she hears theft lawsuit, she assumes Dayu is attacking her. She thinks, she knows, she's calling me out.
And she blushes. Unknowingly, her face turned red.
That blush is so dangerous. If anyone sees that, the secret is out. Baoyu's whole cover-up is ruined.
And someone does see, or at least someone is monitoring the room.
Baochai.
Baochai is the third reaction. The text says she busily and secretly shot a glance at Dayu.
That glance is everything. Baochai is the socially perfect one. She never, ever slips up. When she hears Dayu's blunder, she shoots this look, not of anger necessarily, but of alert. It's a, do you realize what you just did? Look.
It's a check. She's assessing the damage.
Imagine the tension in that triangle. Dayu speaks. Baoyu looks down in shame. Kaiyun blushes in guilt. Baochai shoots a warning glance. And meanwhile, Xiang Yun's probably still waving the duck head around. It's so cinematic, and the craziest part is Dayu's reaction. She catches herself.
She does. The text says she regretted her slip of the tongue. She realizes, oh God, I forgot Kaiyun was right there.
She didn't mean to be mean. She was just careless.
Exactly. It's the difference between malice and negligence. Dayu isn't malicious, but she is socially negligent. She values the joke over the safety of the room.
So what does she do? She can't apologize. You can't say, sorry I mentioned the theft, Kaiyun, because that just makes it worse.
It's an admission. So she does the only thing she can do, the panicked filibuster.
The panicked filibuster. I love that.
She just tries to bury the moment in noise. She turns back to Xiang Yun and basically shouts, okay, enough with the duck. Let's play the next round. Give us the numbers.
Nothing to see here. Look at the fingers.
So instead of making a scene, she quickly moves the game along to cover the awkwardness. Meanwhile, we are talking about an event where the dress code isn't just black tie, it's silk and jade. The wine is vintage. The setting is this meticulously landscaped garden that probably costs more than a small city. And the guests are all incredibly beautiful, incredibly rich teenagers. But here's the kicker. The parents are gone.
They're gone.
The strict Confucian adults have left the building. It sounds like the setup for a modern teen drama, maybe something on HBO, but we're actually back in the 18th century, inside the Grandview Garden.
It really is the ultimate while the cat's away moment. But, you know, unlike a modern house party where things might just get messy and loud, here the chaos is incredibly refined.
And the sources paint this picture of a utopia. It's a moment of peak prosperity. The flowers are blooming, the poetry's flowing. Everyone seems happy.
Seems happy, yes.
But we need to look at what's happening under the table.
Exactly. If you look closely at the text, the author, Cao Zulin, is doing something brilliant. He gives us this dazzling aesthetic perfection, but he's simultaneously showing us the cracks in the foundation.
The cracks.
We're going to see how a drinking game, a nap on a stone bench, and a casual chat about monthly expenses all signal that this golden age is about to end.
A drinking game called Sheifu, or shooting the box. Now, I've read the rules provided in the footnotes, and I have to be honest, this makes 3D chess look like tic-tac-toe.
Oh, It's notoriously difficult. I mean, to put it in perspective for you, this isn't a game of chance at all. It's a test of your internal library. One person hides an object or a word, and the opponent has to guess it.
But you don't just say the word.
No. You have to recite a line from a classical poem that contains the word or, alludes to it.
So you can't just be lucky. You have to be a scholar. You have to have the Tang Dynasty poets memorized.
Completely. And the matchup we have here is really the main event. Bao Yu, our protagonist, versus Bo Chai.
The big one.
The dynamic here is it's electric. You have Bao Yu, who is emotional, intuitive, going up against Bao Chai, who is the standard bearer for rules and propriety. In the game, Bao Chai covers the word Bao, which means precious.
Which is the first half of her own name, Bao Chai.
Yes.
But it's also the first half of his name, Bao Yu.
Right. Bao Yu guesses it immediately. He knows she's teasing him, but instead of just answering Jade, referring to his own name, he answers with Chai, which means hairpin.
Oh, wow.
He throws the second half of her name right back at her.
That is incredibly flirtatious for the 18th century. It's like they're completing each other's sentences or completing each other's names. It feels very intimate for a public game.
It is. It's a public display of intimacy masked as a literary duel. But remember the rules. He has to justify it with a poem. So he quotes an old line. Knocking the jade hairpin, the red candle is cold. He links jade and hairpin together in the verse.
Smooth. I mean, that is smooth. But this is where the room turns on him, right? Zhang Yun, the outspoken cousin, who I think is everyone's favorite because she has no filter.
Oh, definitely.
She jumps in and calls a foul. She says, hold on. You can't use your own names. Those are people in the room, not literary terms.
She's trying to catch him on a technicality. She's saying, Bao Yu and Bao Chai are just proper nouns for us. You can't claim they're classical references.
She wants him to drink.
It's a valid objection in the game. She wants to see him drink the penalty wine.
But she gets shut down fast. And surprisingly, it's Xiangling, the maid who learned poetry, who corrects her.
Yes, and this is such a crucial detail from the sources. Yangling cites a poem by Sen Jiazhu that uses the term precious jade, and a Li Shan poem that mentions a dusty hairpin or bao chai. It shows that these teenagers are so immersed in high culture that even their names carry the weight of history.
It really establishes the vibe of the room perfectly. They are so educated, so quick-witted, they can turn a drinking game into a dissertation. It's intimidating.
It is.
But while they're quoting Tang poetry and flirting, someone is missing.
Bing Yun, the one who called foul earlier, she actually slips away during all the excitement.
The text says she disappears for a while. A little maid eventually comes running in, giggling, and tells everyone to come and look.
Right.
They go out to the garden behind a rockery and find arguably the most famous visual in the entire book.
Xing Yun drunk among the peonies. It's an image that has been painted on vases and scrolls for centuries since.
Let's describe what they see because the level of detail here is so cinematic. I really want you to picture this.
So there's a stone bench tucked away in a quiet corner behind the rocks. Sheng Yin is lying there, fast asleep.
Just passed out.
But she isn't just sleeping. The peony bushes above her, specifically the Xiao Yao flowers, have been shedding petals all over her. She's literally buried in a drift of red and pink petals.
The imagery is just overwhelming. The source mentions her fan is half buried in the dirt, and there are bees and butterflies swarming around her because she smells like wine and flower pollen. It's so sensory.
It's a scene of total immersion in nature. And think about the contrast. Inside, they're playing this rigid intellectual game with strict rules.
Right.
Outside, Zhang Yun is passed out, covered in nature, completely uninhibited.
She's even using a handkerchief filled with petals as a pillow. It's like something out of a fairy tale. But there's a funny detail here, too. She's talking in her sleep.
She is. She's mumbling lines from the drinking game. Spring is fragrant. Wine is strong. Even in her dreams, she's still playing.
What does that tell us about her? Is she just the party girl of the group?
I think it's deeper than that. Zhang Yun represents the heroic spirit of the garden. She isn't melancholy like Dayu. She isn't reserved like Bao Chai. She is pure life force. She embodies the idea of enjoying the moment to its absolute fullest, to the point of exhaustion. She doesn't hold back.
But the reaction of the other characters grounds us. Again, they don't just stand there and take pictures. Well, they couldn't anyway. They panic a little. They say, wake her up. That stone is cold. She's going to get sick.
That's reality checking in. The image is romantic, but the physical body is vulnerable. If you sleep on cold stone, you get sick. They rush her inside, and I love the remedy they give her. Sour soup.
Universal cure for a hangover. It's amazing how some things don't change over 300 years.
Essentially, yes, it's a very practical moment. They clean her up, give her hot tea, and smooth everything over. It reminds us that for all their poetry, they're still human beings who can catch a cold or get a headache.
And speaking of reality checking in, the party doesn't stay unsupervised forever. The adults, or at least the deputies of the adults, make an entrance.
This is where the tone shifts. Mrs. Lin, the wife of the steward, arrives with a group of older women. Now remember, the main matriarch, Lady Wang, is away.
So they're just checking in.
Exactly. But it feels like a raid, doesn't it? They're looking around, sniffing the air for wine. They want to know if the hierarchy is breaking down while the boss is gone.
It's pure surveillance.
It is. They're asking, are the boys and girls mixing too freely? Is there too much gambling? Is there too much drinking? In this household, propriety is everything.
And this is where Tanshin steps up. We've talked about her before. She's the third sister, very sharp, very capable. She handles this perfectly.
She does. Tanshin is the interim manager of the garden. And watch how she navigates this. She doesn't get defensive. She doesn't tell them to get out. She smiles and says, oh, we're just having a little fun. We drank a little wine just to get the game started.
She minimizes it. She de-escalates. Nothing to see here, just a little primer for our poetry games.
Exactly. She frames it as harmless child's play so the servants don't feel the need to report chaos to the upper management. And then she creates a compromise. The servants advise them, if you drink wine, please eat some food so you don't hurt your stomachs.
And Tanshin immediately says, yes, of course, and orders snacks. It's pure diplomacy. But there's a moment right after this that gave me chills. It shows a whole different side of Tanshin.
You're thinking of the chess game.
Yes. So Tanshin is playing Go or Wakey with another cousin, Booking. And Mrs. Lin brings up a disciplinary issue. Apparently, a woman, the mother of a small maid, had been bad-mouthing people and causing trouble. And Mrs. Lin asks Tanshin, what do we do with her?
And look at the body language described in the text. Tanshin doesn't stop playing. She's looking at the board, calculating liberties, maybe planning a capture, and without even looking up, she says, drive her out. We'll deal with the paperwork when Lady Wang gets back.
That is stone cold. She doesn't even blink.
It's a powerful metaphor. The chessboard represents the household. Tanshin is the grandmaster. She moves people like pawns. It shows that even in the middle of a party, she is the one holding the structure together.
Levy holding back the flood.
Exactly.
But as we move to the next section, we start to wonder, how strong is that levy? Because Tanshin might be managing things well, but the math just isn't adding up.
This brings us to the cracks in the foundation. And ironically, the person who sees the cracks most clearly isn't the manager, it's the dreamer, Dayu.
There's this quiet conversation under the flowers between Baiyu and Dayu. It starts with them praising Tanshin. Dayu says, she's clever, she manages things well.
And Baiyu agrees. He lists her reforms, she's cut costs, she's stopped the servants from stealing, she's tightened the budget. He thinks everything is fine because Tanshin is in charge. He's confident.
But then Dayu drops the hammer. She says, I might not manage the house, but I can count. We spend too much and we earn too little. She uses this phrase, our hands aren't meeting.
It's such a vivid image. Think of trying to wrap your hands around a giant bundle. If your fingers don't touch, you can't hold it. She is predicting bankruptcy.
She sees it coming.
She sees that the family's lavish lifestyle is completely unsustainable.
And this is the moment that drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Baoyu, the person who ostensibly loves her and listens to her, just laughs it off.
His response is, it's fascinating and tragic. He says, well, even if the family goes bankrupt, there's still enough for the two of us.
On the surface, that sounds so romantic, like, it's you and me against the world, babe. It's the kind of line you'd hear in a movie.
It sounds romantic, but it reveals a profound delusion. Bao Yu cannot conceive of a world where his needs aren't met.
Right.
He thinks his privilege is this magic circle that will protect him and Dayu even if the rest of the house burns down. He thinks he is exempt from consequence.
It's rich kid syndrome, isn't it? He thinks money is just something that exists, like air. Meanwhile, Dayu is an orphan. She has no personal fortune. She knows exactly how precarious their position is.
That's the tragedy. Dayu sees the cliff edge of Puiqing. Bayu thinks they can just float over it. It highlights that for all his empathy, Bayu is still blinded by his class. He refuses to grow up and face economic reality.
So we have the party, we have the management, and we have the looming bankruptcy. But the chapter doesn't end on that heavy note. It swings back to the relationships. There's a tiny moment involving a cup of tea that I think is really important for understanding the girls' dynamic.
Oh, the tea sharing. Yes. Shirin, the maid, brings a cup of tea. Bao Chai takes it, drinks about half, and then hands the rest to Dayu.
Now, usually giving someone your leftovers is kind of rude. And aren't they supposed to be rivals, the whole love triangle thing?
They are rivals for Bao Yu's affection, yes.
Mhm.
But at this point in the novel, they have developed a deep sisterhood. Bao Chai isn't giving her leftovers, she's portion controlling.
Explain that. What do you mean?
Dayu has a weak constitution. Her doctor has likely restricted her caffeine or fluid intake to prevent her from getting sick. So by drinking half first, Bao Chai is ensuring Dayu doesn't drink too much. It's a silent gesture of care.
That completely changes the scene. It's not an insult. It's looking out for her health.
Exactly. It shows that in this garden, the women look out for each other. They form this protective web against the outside world.
Which brings us to the final character we need to discuss today. Someone who is not interested in propriety or portion control. Fang Guan.
Oh, Fang Wan is a firecracker. She's one of the young actresses who is brought into the garden to live as a maid. And in this section, she is essentially staging a one-woman rebellion.
She's hilarious.
Yeah.
Bai Yu finds her sleeping, again, lots of sleeping people in this chapter.
So much sleeping.
And when she wakes up, she's grumpy. They offer her noodles, and she refuses to eat them.
She demands real food, rice and soup. Now, for a maid to reject food from the master's kitchen is a huge breach of protocol. But Bai Yu, just says, okay, I'll get you what you want.
And then she announces her plans for the evening. She says she wants to open the fast.
She tells Bai Yu, back home, I used to drink 2 or 3 bottles of strong wine. But since I came here, everyone tells me not to, that it'll ruin my singing voice. But tonight, I'm breaking the rules. I'm going to drink until I'm done.
It's a total breakdown of the hierarchy. You have a maid demanding special meals and planning a bender. You have the young master waiting on her like a servant.
It feels like a carnival, the Lord of Misrule. The strict social order of the Confucian household is just dissolving into this puddle of wine and flowers.
Okay, let's shift scenes. Just imagine it's lunchtime.
But not the kind of lunchtime you're probably used to.
No, definitely not. You're not in the office microwaving leftovers. You are inside this sprawling 18th century Chinese estate.
And a lacquered lunchbox arrives.
The lid is lifted, steam pours out, and inside you've got shrimp ball chicken skin soup, steamed duck with wine sauce, salted rouge goose.
And cream pine nut rolls.
It just sounds incredible, like a Michelin star delivery service.
It is. But here's the thing about the scene we're looking at today. For the people eating this incredible food is just, well, it's just another Tuesday.
Exactly. Yeah, and it feels like such a slice of life. We're not talking about huge imperial dramas here.
No, not at all. We are looking at the domestic ecosystem of the Grandview Garden. We have a feast, a very sophisticated word game with flowers, and then...
A secret rescue mission.
That's right, a rescue mission involving a ruined skirt.
And a ruined skirt that, as we're going to see, is treated with the seriousness of, I don't know, a bomb defusal.
Because in this world, clothing is so much more than fabric. It's social currency. It's leverage. But, okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Right. Back to the lunchbox.
Back to the food.
So the box arrives. It's sent by Liu's wife for the young master, Bao Yu, and his maids. And I listed those dishes. The duck, the goose. I'm getting hungry just reading it.
Don't forget the rice. The text is so specific. It says Green Ridge, fragrant rice. It actually has a green hue to it.
So this isn't just sustenance.
No, this is like tribute level grain.
Yeah.
But the reaction from the people in the room is surprisingly mixed.
It tells you everything about the hierarchy, doesn't it?
It really does. You have Feng Wan, who is one of the younger maids, but she has this backstory, right? She was an actress brought in for entertainment.
So she's got a bit of an artistic temperament.
Exactly. She looks at this gourmet spread, salted rouge goose, and she just turns up her nose.
What does she say?
She says, it's greasy. Who would eat this stuff? And she barely touches it.
That's such a power move. Turning your nose up at luxury. It's like a teenager complaining the lobster is too chewy.
It's a total flex. It shows she's accustomed to fine things, or at least she wants to project that she is.
But then you have Bao Yu. He's the young master, the heir, the absolute center of this universe.
And his reaction is the complete opposite.
Yeah, the text says he finds it better than his usual fare. He digs right in, pours the shrimp soup over his green rice.
So why is the master so impressed by food his maid rejects?
I mean, that's classic Bao Yu. You have to understand his own life is full of rigid formality. Eating with his grandmother is a ritual.
Stiff.
So stiff. But here, with the maids, it's real. He loves the casual intimacy of it, the flavor, both literal and metaphorical.
So he's eating with gusto, which I guess gives everyone else permission to dig in.
Well, most of them. Then you have Cheyenne, another maid, who's way more pragmatic than Feng Guan.
I love Cheyenne in this scene. Me too. She sees Fang Guan wasting all this food, and she's basically like, I'm not letting this go to waste. She just devours the leftovers.
But, and this is the detail that really got me, she saves 2 of the cream pie nut rolls.
She wraps them up, doesn't she?
She does. She says, I'm keeping these for my mom.
And that just, it grounds the whole scene. In this bubble of unimaginable wealth, 2 little pastries are a rare treat to take home to your family.
It completely pierces the bubble. It reminds you that right outside the garden walls, people aren't eating green-hued rice.
And Baoyu, being Baoyu, sees this and immediately shifts into leadership mode.
He's like the cool boss who realizes his team lives outside of work. He tells her, great, keep them. And hey, if you want Rhine tonight, I'll make sure you get some.
He's building morale. It's more than just being nice. He's actively managing his staff. He even mentions that his senior maids, Shirin and Kingwen, can really drink, but they hold back to keep up appearances.
He promises them a real drink that night.
But notice what he asks for in return. He asks Shirin to look after Feng Guan.
Right. If she has nowhere to go, you take her in.
Exactly. Because Feng Guan is the outsider, the former actress. He's constantly managing his people to keep his favorites safe. He even promises to get another girl, Fivey, brought into the garden the next day.
He's curating his whole environment.
Totally.
Yeah.
So lunch wraps up. Bao Yu heads back to his main room where the senior maids, Zirin and Kingwen, are waiting, and they just start teasing him immediately.
It's pure banter. Jiren says he has cat's food habits. Okay, let's unpack that. What does she mean, cat's food?
It's an idiom. It means food from another pot smells better. Like a cat who ignores its own bowl to see what the dog is eating.
So she's teasing him for preferring the leftovers with the junior maids over his own fancy kitchen.
It's a playful jab, yeah. And then Kingwen, who's always sharp-tongued, she joins in, pokes Fang Guan right in the forehead.
And calls her a fox spirit.
Which normally means a seductress, right? But here it's affectionate but also a bit aggressive. The senior maid putting the new girl in her place.
But the conversation takes a sharper turn when they bring up the peacock coat. King Wen says she's lazy and useless and should be fired.
Oh, she's being totally sarcastic. She's fishing. And Shirin gives her exactly what she wants. She reminds her, when the peacock coat was burned and you were sick,
7 dead, 8 alive is the phrase they use.
you still mended it overnight.
So what's the deal with this coat? It sounds legendary.
It is. It was this priceless coat made of peacock feather thread. Bayou burned a hole in it. Nobody could fix it. But Kingwen, while practically on her deathbed with a fever, rewove it thread by thread.
Wow. So when she jokes about being useless, she's actually reminding everyone that she is completely indispensable.
Exactly. It shows that despite her sharp tongue, she has this unique skill and fierce loyalty. It's why she gets away with poking people in the forehead.
So domestic politics are settled. Everyone's fed. Now we move outside to the garden, and we get this description of a game called Dukao.
Fighting grasses or Battle of the Flowers. It's what the girls do for fun, and honestly, it's much more intellectual than it sounds.
I was picturing them just, throwing grass at each other.
No, it's a verbal duel. It's a test of botanical knowledge and poetic parallelism. So if I say I have a Guanyin willow.
Okay, Guanyin the deity, willow the tree.
Right. You have to counter with something that matches that structure. So you might say,
Arhat pine.
Exactly. Arhat's a Buddhist figure, pine's a tree, deity for deity, tree for tree, or they do gentleman bamboo versus beauty banana.
It's so clever. But as always in this book, the fun turns into conflict.
Enter Xingling. We should pause on her. She's a sweet, kind of tragic figure. She was kidnapped as a child, lost her identity, and now she's a concubine to Bayou's cousin.
The cousin they call the overlords.
Yes, so bad. A complete brute. So Shangling joins the game, and she plays a flower she calls the husband and wife orchid.
And another maid, Dugan, just shuts her down, says she's never heard of it.
But Zhangling defends it with botanical logic. She explains, one stalk with one flower is lan. One stalk with many flowers is hui. So if 2 flowers bloom side by side on one stalk...
It's a husband and wife hui? That sounds perfectly logical to me.
It is. But Duran isn't interested in botany. She's making it personal. She basically says, you just made that up because your husband is gone and you miss him.
Ouch. That is a really low blow.
It's so cruel, and Shangli is mortified. She blushes and tries to pinch Dugran to get her to stop.
And this is where it gets physical. You start wrestling in the grass, and it's all fun until splash.
Dugran pushes Jangling into a puddle. and the mood just, it shatters because Zhangling is wearing a brand new pomegranate red skirt.
And now it's soaked in green, muddy water. The text is so vivid. Green water dripping down red silk.
And everyone scatters. They know this is trouble. Zhangling is just left there, alone, staring at this ruined skirt.
This is where Bayou comes back into the scene. He was actually coming to join the game.
Right, he had his own grasses ready, but he just finds Zhangling looking devastated.
And look at how he handles it. First, he validates her. He shows her he found a twin caltrop to match her husband and wife orchid.
He finishes the game for her.
He does. But then he sees the skirt. And his reaction is immediate. Oh, no. Now, I have to ask. He's rich. Can't he just buy her a new one? Why is this such a disaster?
See, that's what you'd think. It's not about the cost. It's about the social fallout. First, the skirt was a gift from a relative. Ruining it so fast makes her look ungrateful.
Okay, that's bad. What's the second problem?
Aunt Sue, Zhangling's mistress and mother-in-law. Bayou describes her as having a broken mouth.
A broken mouth. That's an amazing way to say she's a nag.
It means she scolds, like, incessantly. Bayou says if she sees the skirt, she'll launch into a tirade about how Zhangling doesn't know how to cherish blessings.
Wow. Cherish blessings. That is a heavy guilt trip for a laundry stain.
It is. In this household, being labeled wasteful damages your standing. It invites abuse. And Bayou knows a stained skirt isn't a mess, it's a potential week of verbal torture for Zhangling.
So he hatches a plot. A conspiracy.
He remembers that his maid, Jiren, has an identical pomegranate red skirt. But Jiren isn't wearing it because she's in mourning.
How convenient.
It's a perfect solution, he says. Take Jiren's clean skirt, put it on now, and give Jiren the dirty one to clean in secret. No one has to know.
Zhangling hesitates, though.
She does. But the fear of Aunt Shu is stronger. She agrees. And while Bayou goes to get Jiren, we get this glimpse into his thoughts about Zhangling's life.
It's heartbreaking, he thinks. She has no parents, she forgot her own name, and she was sold to a tyrant.
The tyrant being his cousin. He sees her as this delicate person who's been dirtied by the world, just like the skirt. He just wants to protect her from even a minor scolding.
So he brings Jiren back, and Jiren is totally on board. The ultimate fixer.
Oh, absolutely. She hands over the skirt, Zhangling changes, Bayou respectfully turns his back, and Jiren whisks the dirty evidence away. Crisis averted.
But the scene doesn't end there. And this is the part I found so touching and almost strange.
Right.
While she's changing, Bayou is squatting on the ground.
Wow.
What is he doing?
He's digging a small hole with a stick. He takes the husband and wife orchid and the twin caltrop he found, and he buries them together.
He buries them, like a funeral for flowers.
Exactly. He puts them in the pit, covers them with fallen petals, then buries them. In this book, burying flowers is this recurring motif. It's about preserving beauty before it can be trampled or decay.
So he's preserving the idea of a husband and wife.
Think about it. He takes the symbol of a perfect union, the flower, and buries it safely in the clean earth. He's giving the flower the tenderness that the human wife, Zhangling, never gets from her real husband.
That is so powerful. He can save the flower, he can save the skirt, but he can't actually save her from her marriage.
No, he can only mitigate the damage. And Zhangling catches him doing this, and she teases him. She grabs his hand and says something like, "You're always doing these sneaky, sentimental things that make people cringe."
Make people cringe. Even then, being too emo was a thing.
Well, the text says, makes people's flesh creep, but she's smiling. It's affectionate. But look at that, she holds his hand.
Which is covered in mud from digging the hole.
Right. It's this brief moment of unpolished intimacy. They're conspirators. She tells him to go wash up.
But before they part, she stops him. She gives him this very serious warning. Don't tell your brother about the skirt.
Your brother, meaning her husband, the overlord.
And Bayou's response is just chilling. He laughs and says he'd have to be crazy to stick his head into a tiger's mouth.
A tiger's mouth. That's how he sees her husband. And that's the reality she has to go back to.